No, please stay there. I just want to make sure you have it.
Oh, just yes.
You're not waiting for anyone.
Good evening. It is 6 p.m. on April 18th, 2024. The Wenatchee School District School Board is ready to get this hearing started. Welcome to the second public hearing on the possible closure of Columbia Elementary. The hearing is being conducted as required and in compliance with RCW 28A 335-020 and Board Policy 6883. The Board appreciates your presence this evening and would like to remind you that all public comments should adhere to the same standard of civility that the Board imposes on itself. The Board will exercise its authority to maintain order in a content-neutral manner this evening. This listening opportunity for the school board will be conducted as a formal hearing in a civil manner. In order to preserve as much time for speakers as possible and maintain an environment favorable to the sharing of multiple perspectives, we will be adhering to strict rules of decorum and ask that you refrain from clapping, cheering, booing, or approaching the board table throughout tonight's proceeding. Please also be aware that the board is not obligated to respond to questions or challenges made during public comment, and the board's silence will not signal agreement or endorsement of the speaker's remarks. Before we begin, I would like to review the guidelines for tonight. Signage, banners, and/or displays are prohibited inside Wenatchee High School before, during, and after the hearing. Speakers must complete a public comment form prior to speaking. Paper copies of the form are available at the table just outside the entrance of the room and should be given to Kim White, who will announce your name when it is your time to address the board. Speakers should not hand items to the board during the hearing. If you have documents that you wish to share with the board, please give them to Kim White following your comment. Comments will only be accepted in person. There is no virtual option for commenting tonight. However, this meeting is being live streamed for the public to view, and the recording will be made available on the district's YouTube channel. The board will also accept public comments via email at school_board@wenatcheeschools.org. Comments made at our regular board meetings will be included in the public testimony the board will consider in making its decision on May 14th. If you need Spanish to English interpretation, we have a certified Spanish interpreter available and seated near the podium. We also have headphones available and will translate all English-speaking public comments into Spanish. Please feel free to use the headsets on the table just outside the entrance of the room. English speakers will be allowed 3 minutes of comment time, and Spanish speakers will be allowed 4 minutes to speak with additional time allowed for interpretation if necessary. Comments are limited to one per person. Donating time to another person so they can speak longer is prohibited. Tonight's hearing will end at 9 p.m. or when the last comment is made, whichever comes first. In addition to tonight's hearing, the board will accept written comments and comments through email. And last but not least, I've been warned that the camera mic is very sensitive, so if you could please keep audience noise to a minimum. People watching at home will appreciate it. Thank you for your attention. We will first begin with reading these announcements in Spanish and then a presentation from Superintendent Calamar.
Bienvenidos a nuestra segunda audiencia pública sobre el posible cierre de la primaria Colombia. Esta audiencia se lleva a cabo según lo exige y en cumplimiento de la RCW 28A.335.020 y la política de la Junta 6883. La Junta Directiva agradece su presencia esta noche y quisiera recordarle que todos los comentarios públicos deben cumplir con el mismo estándar de civilidad que impone la Junta en sí mismo. La Junta ejercerá esta tarde su autoridad para mantener el orden de manera neutral y cuanto al comentario. Esta oportunidad de escuchar para la Junta Escolar se llevará a cabo como una audiencia formal de manera civilizada, para preservar el mayor tiempo posible para los presentadores y mantener un ambiente favorable para compartir múltiples perspectivas. Cumpliremos con estrictas reglas de decoro y le pediremos que se abstengan de aplaudir, vitorear, abuchear o acercarse a la mesa de la Junta Directiva durante todo el proceso de esta noche. Tenga en cuenta también que la Junta no está obligada a responder a las preguntas o cuestionarios realizados durante los comentarios públicos, y el silencio de la Junta no indicará acuerdo el respaldo a los comentarios del presentador. Antes de comenzar, me gustaría presentar las pautas de guianza para esta noche. Está prohibido los letreros, carteles y o exhibiciones dentro de la Wenatchee High School antes, durante y después de la audiencia. Los presentadores deben completar un formulario, comentarios públicos antes de hablar. Las copias impresas de formularios están disponibles en la mesa justo afuera de esta sala y deben entregárselos a Kim White, quien anunciará su nombre cuando sea su turno de dirigirse a la junta directiva. Los presentadores no deben entregar artículos a la Junta durante la audiencia. Si tienen documentos que desean compartir con la Junta, entréguenselos a Kim White después de su comentario. Solo se aceptan comentarios en persona, no hay opción virtual para comentar esta noche. Sin embargo, la reunión se transmitirá en vivo para que el público pueda verla y la grabación estará disponible en el canal de YouTube del distrito. La Junta también aceptará comentarios del público por correo electrónico a school_board@wenatcheeschools.org. Los comentarios realizados en esta reunión regulares de la Junta también se incluirán en el testimonio público que la Junta considera al tomar su decisión el 14 de mayo. Si necesitan interpretación en español al inglés, tenemos un intérprete certificado de español que está sentada al lado del podio. También tenemos auriculares o audífonos disponibles y traduciremos a español los comentarios públicos de habla inglés. Siéntanse libres de utilizar uno de estos audífonos que se encuentran en la mesa justo afuera de esta sala. A los comentarios realizados en inglés se les permitirán 3 minutos y a los hispanohablantes se les permitirán 4 minutos para hablar, con tiempo adicional para interpretaciones si es necesario. Los comentarios están limitados a 1 por persona. Está prohibido donar tiempo a otra persona para que pueda hablar más tiempo. La audiencia de esta noche finalizará a las 9 p.m. o cuando se haga el último comentario, lo que suceda primero. Además de la audiencia de esta noche, la Junta Escolar aceptará comentarios escritos y comentarios por correo electrónico. Por último, nos han advertido que el micrófono de la cámara es muy sensible. Si pudiera mantener el ruido de la audiencia al mínimo, la gente que mira esta desde casa lo va a agradecer. Gracias por su atención. Comenzaremos con la audiencia con una breve presentación del Superintendent Callahan.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Thank you, President Norton. I appreciate that. Welcome to the community. Thank you, School Board, for your time this evening to listen to testimony from our community. We have a short slide presentation to give us a little bit of background and context as to why we are here. And Nancy will be helping me with this presentation, so thank you again, Nancy. So starting off with our public hearing tonight, why does the district need to make budget reductions? I don't think this information is new for anyone, and I would encourage anyone who hasn't had a chance to look at the written analysis or the addendum to the written analysis as well during the next few weeks. The district is experiencing and has been experiencing significant enrollment decline and must make budget reductions to balance staffing levels and enrollment. And a little bit of data behind that is that this is not anything new. We've had enrollment declines beginning from 15-16, about 900 students over the last 9 years and 183 this year alone. Some of the reasons for the enrollment decline are the increases in the K-12 educational opportunities. We know that we have our public charter school. We also have some private opportunities, and we know that there is some growth in those areas coming in the next fall. We've also seen, as the state and the nation as well, an overall decrease in birth rates, and we know that we all experience it, that it is not inexpensive to live in Wenatchee, and we have increased housing costs and lack of affordable housing in our district. We also know that district funds are based on enrollment, and when enrollment declines, so do our revenues. Enrollment decline has been most significant thus far at the elementary level. We know that when our second and third and fourth graders, our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will be experiencing that enrollment decline at the middle level. And when those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, or 9th, 10th, and 11th graders will be experiencing that enrollment decline at the high school as well. The Wenatchee School District has targeted a total reduction amount of between $8 and $9 million, so we'll describe that on a slide here in just a second. So, Nancy.
Nosotros sabemos que esta decisión de cerrar es por varias necesidades. Por ejemplo, el distrito escolar está experimentando una disminución significativa de la inscripción de los alumnos, y eso es debido a varias razones. Por ejemplo, hay aumento de opciones educativas aquí en el Wenatchee, y está creciendo esas opciones. También nacionalmente y aquí también en el estado tenemos la tasa nativa, que es mucho menor, o sea, muchos estudiantes o personas están teniendo menos niños. Tenemos un aumento de costo en las viviendas aquí en Wenatchee. No es necesariamente muy relativo poder vivir aquí adecuadamente. Cuando esto pasa, los distritos financian una función de inscripción. Cuando esta inscripción disminuye, también los ingresos por cada estudiante disminuyen. Y esta disminución es significativa, y también tenemos que disminuir el personal según lo que tenemos de alumnos. Hemos mirado que desde 1919 están disminuyendo muchos niños, y en este año solamente 189 alumnos fueron menos inscritos, y eso nos está dando una reducción de 8 a 9 millones para el próximo año escolar.
Thank you. And as we look here, this is the district proposal for how the budget reductions would take place. The first row there are the different grade levels, starting with the potential closure of Columbia there at a $2.8 million savings or reduction there for the budget. Moving on to the middle school schedule with a $2 million reduction there as the middle schools align their schedules and reduce staffing. And then finally at the high school level with a $671,000 reduction there in the alignment of their staffing and their new schedule. With both the middle and the high school, the idea there is the preparation for enrollment decline as it comes through our system, to be ready and nimble to adjust to those. So that'll be savings that will also impact us in future years. The additional staffing on the bottom row there, we have $1 million worth of additional staffing reductions that we'll have, plus our $2.5 million with MSOC, our materials, supplies, and operating costs, for a grand total of close to $8.9 million. So, thanks, Nancy.
Esta gráfica muestra la cantidad que están tratando de mirar que puedan reducir. Por ejemplo, en la parte de arriba, cerrando la Escuela Colombia, nos va a dar 2.8 millones de ahorro, porque ahí también hay 28 personal. En las escuelas secundarias o las escuelas intermedias van a haber un ajuste de horarios para ellos, y eso nos va a dar un 2.0 millones de ahorro. También en la escuela preparatoria tenemos también un ajuste de horarios que nos va a dar $671,000 de ahorro. Personal adicional que también vamos a tener posiblemente 1.0 millón de ahorro, y luego en las reducciones de materiales nos va a dar un 2.5 millones de ahorro.
And why Columbia? This is a cross section of some of those reasons. Please feel free to look at the written analysis and the addendum to the written analysis for a more detailed composite here. But Columbia is our second smallest school with the second smallest staff. Over the last 8 years, Columbia has experienced a decline in enrollment by 26.5%. That has resulted in many open classrooms used for non-grade level purposes and small class sizes. Both Lincoln and Washington elementaries have the space to accommodate more students. Those buildings were built in 2014 to 2016 to house the large number of students. Columbia's location is unique and centralized, as we all know. Most students live within 1 mile walking distance of either Lincoln or Washington. Those few students that will need transportation can be added to existing Wenatchee School District bus routes, limiting any additional funding. And we know due to the area, there's a lack of vacant land for more homes, And then the co-zoning of several sections for residential and commercial purposes. The growth in the area is minimal. A lot of the homes there are single-family dwellings with a few apartments and numerous companies and agencies.
¿Por qué la decisión de Colombia? Sabemos que la Escuela Colombia es la segunda escuela más pequeña con menos estudiantes y también es la segunda escuela que tiene menos personal. En los últimos 8 años la Escuela Colombia ha experimentado una disminución de inscripciones en total de 26.5% y esto ha resultado en que muchos de los salones ya no tengan clases durante el tiempo que estamos en clase. Las escuelas Lincoln y Washington fueron construidas en 2014, y esto nos va a ayudar porque estas fueron construidas para acomodar a más alumnos. La ubicación de Colombia sabemos que es central y esto significa que muchos de los estudiantes están como a una distancia de 1 milla para poder caminar a la escuela y también poder caminar de allí a la escuela Lincoln o a la Washington. Muy pocos estudiantes necesitan transporte, pero si algún estudiante necesita el transporte a estas nuevas escuelas, ya existen rutas que pueden agregarse con un financiamiento muy limitado. Y debido a la falta de terrenos en esta área, muchos de las residencias o viviendas están limitadas para unifamiliares o pocos departamentos y no hay mucho lugar para poder establecer más viviendas ahí.
Again, for more information on the district's budget and documentation on the possible closure, please see our website. Again, the written analysis, we have an addendum to that written analysis, the Q&A that has been created for the budget and for the possible closure, and then information for our Columbia families.
Tenemos un análisis escrito que ustedes pueden mirar y también ahí pueden recibir más información detallada acerca de esta decisión de la adenda y hay también preguntas y respuestas que se han escrito para este análisis.
Upcoming board meetings and public comment opportunities. Tonight is our second and final public hearing. Written testimony is accepted via email by the school board. And there's the school board's email address. It's also located on our website. And then the final decision on May 14th coming up.
Esta es la segunda audiencia pública que se va a escuchar hoy. También se aceptan testimonios escritos por correo. Ahí está la dirección que pueden usar para mandar un comentario escrito. Y si ustedes gustan continuar proveyendo comentarios en las juntas regulares de la junta directiva, también lo pueden hacer. Y la decisión definitiva se va a llevar a cabo el 14 de mayo en la junta regular a las 6 p.m.
Excellent. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for listening and being here tonight. The rest of the evening will be dedicated to public hearing and testimony. Thanks.
Ron, let us know when you're ready, and Ken, you can read our first names.
Okay, first tonight we have Jill Reinfeld, then Jennifer Knighton.
good evening. My name is Jill Reinfeld. I am a parent of two, a teacher, and taxpayer. It is without question Columbia Elementary is a special place for staff, students, and families. It is without question the district has failed to oversee and control a budget shortfall. It is also without question the district did not communicate the potential scenarios for reductions in a transparent and timely manner. And it is without question the board has a very difficult decision. The trust in the district and the subsequent negative morale is affecting students, families, staff, and the community at large. However, now is the time for change. As agonizing as it may be, the board must vote to close Columbia for the upcoming school year. To extend another year only perpetuates the financial burden and will ultimately create greater hardships in the future for everyone. Without this decision, the board would further undermine the trust and confidence in its ability to make prudent financial decisions. The district needs votes to support future levies and bonds. How can you expect taxpayers to support those endeavors? There's no doubt it's a loss for Columbia, the devoted staff and loving families who have cultivated a special school. In the words of my friend Megan, it's unfortunate to have this school or any school be on the verge of being closed. Yet a school needs to be absorbed by another. Think of the benefits that come along with blending of two schools, the gift of views, of additional families, cultures, and friendships. As a member of the Washington Elementary community, I promise you that we are excitedly awaiting the arrival of new students, families, and staff. The district has worked tirelessly to ensure a smooth transition should the closure occur. Trust that while these decisions are difficult, we will strive to make every child and family feel welcome, supported, and that their social and academic needs are exceeded. I urge community members who desire fiscal responsibility to communicate their wishes with the district. I urge the cabinet and board to thoroughly research information they're receiving to ensure that it's accurate. And I urge the Columbia community to embrace hard change and model that we can positively persevere through challenges. Thank you.
Wenatchee School District claims to found their decisions on the Big Six, which states we promise to build a foundation of diversity, equity, and inclusion from which each student emerges future ready. However, closing Columbia. Admin was unable to state clearly the idea until pushed to do so, and there's been a lack of transparency. When presented, it was clearly an idea, not a plan. When pushed to speak clearly, Mr. Calamar began with, "There's no right way to say this." Admin had no knowledge of RCWs or board requirements at time of announcement. When asked what outside expert advice had been sought, the response was that the only advice sought was from the cabinet and Michelle Price at the ESD, and only around the idea of if Wenatchee School District had a budget deficit. In response to the question, is this a done deal, the answer was yes. Once confronted with the RCWs, the tune changed. All stakeholders were blindsided by the announcement. It was a bomb. Bombs create everlasting effects. What happened to the three scenarios given by Mr. Eagle in 2023? Open houses have been held before the decision is made. The community hearings feel like a farce, a box ticked off a list so it can be said that all requirements have been met. The timeline is unreasonable. A simple Google search brings up multiple resources stating that a 12 to 18 month, well thought out plan is the best timeline. The district cabinet did not do their homework before informing Columbia, its stakeholders, and the rest of the district of their idea. They have added information to each presentation based on questions we have brought to their attention in previous meetings. The numbers for how many positions to be cut did not match between graphics. The numbers of empty classrooms have been incorrect. The amount of money saved by closing Columbia keeps changing. The data presented by the district keeps changing. Who is fact-checking? Why was Valley Academy not added to the original table of comparing elementaries? How many errors do we need to find in your work before you realize it's not well done? There was never a plan B or C. There has been no vote on what staff thinks we should do because only one option has been provided.
Kara Stridsky, then John Price IV.
What has been presented as two options is really one option, close Columbia now or close Columbia later. The not recommended list seems limited and written in order to check off a box on a list. No explanation is given for items being not recommended, when teachers can explain why many of those items should be recommended and were eliminations, not reductions. The survey sent out in January was not feasible for staff to even do because of tech issues. How many responses were you able to get, and where are those responses? The survey sent out in January asking district staff to make recommendations for budget cuts also asked for dollar amounts. We did not have this information. We would like to see an itemized district budget in order to make an informed recommendations. The only benefit to this idea is a financial one, which can be achieved in other ways. This is being done to Columbia and the rest of the elementary schools, not done with. The stakeholders have not been heard or consulted. Spanish translation has been considerably lacking on-site and in written communications. Interpreting has been inadequate. Voices have been silenced through poor translation, shutting down applause, not providing Zoom comments, and allowing signage at community hearings. Healthy leadership does not result in fear of retribution for unifying and speaking out. Educators are afraid to speak out and are asking outside community members, like Jamie Johnson, to speak on their behalf. Because of this, the board is not getting a clear perspective. Leaders in the community have a duty to amplify the voices of the historically marginalized and silenced parts of our community. Keeping the peace is moral blackmail used to perpetrate silence in the face of harmful and oppressive status quo. It is not right. As I conclude, I leave you with this thought. Where would you want your child to be? At a school that has the highest growth rate, where students are a priority, and with a staff that has a unique culture within their building where students and families are a priority regardless of the adversities we all face? Or would you want your child to be removed from their home, which is Columbia Elementary, and placed at a different, overcrowded school where they become just a number and a dollar amount to the district? Thank you.
Good evening, buenas noches. This is my 12th year teaching and my third in Wenatchee at Columbia Elementary. I would like to thank the school board and cabinet for allowing us to speak on this matter tonight. Wenatchee School District's elementaries are in the best place instructionally that I've ever experienced in my career. I want to give a shout out and thank you to Heidi Busk and Teaching and Learning for the work she and they have done for our district and for greatly helping me improve my instruction. There is a clear vision, oversight, communication, transparency, forward thinking, collaboration, and organization around instruction. Why is our community, district staff, and I being left with a feeling of complete contrast with how this process of decision-making regarding budget cuts has been made this year? Closing Columbia would negatively affect classroom instruction and the work we have done. I wanted to share some of the things I've experienced during my career. I am not suggesting that you make any of these cuts, but I'm asking you to get creative with budget reductions. I completed my student teaching in Meade School District in Spokane. They had to make budget cuts and chose to cut all the library and art teaching positions at the elementary level. In my previous district, the Title I school I worked at averaged 650 plus students and was a 4 to 5 track per grade level. We didn't have a vice principal the first 5 years I was there. We only had one intervention specialist. My previous district does not have dedicated elementary highly capable teaching positions. Instead, a small stipend is given to a teacher at each elementary school to provide high-cap support. I'm asking the school board and cabinet to get creative with district budget cuts. We need to keep all elementary schools open. Analyze positions throughout the district based on needs and necessity. Look for ways to make cuts that don't directly affect students, their instruction, or their families. Seek collaboration, seek expert guidance, seek out ideas from other districts on how they have managed similar situations. Please don't let opinions or egos keep you from having an open mind to what is best for our students, families, and community moving forward. Please keep Columbia open. Thank you.
You need to stop with the disruptions, please.
Liz Kazemba, and then Allison Haug.
Closing Columbia will harm students. There is going to be a lack of convenient transportation to school. Where is the information about traffic analyses, timeline, and safety, timelines for making changes to walking routes? Would you want your 6 or 7-year-old crossing Ferry Street or Miller Street? What are the busing routes that we have available that need no change? We do know that not having dependable transportation to school will lead to tardiness, which will turn into absences, which will turn into being behind in learning. There will be academic harm. We are moving at-risk students from the highest achieving school in the district in terms of student growth to the lowest achieving schools. Generally, in terms of parent choice, parents would choose to move their students from low to high achieving schools. Moving students results in a year of loss of growth academically. Studies show that kids only recover academically from their schools being closed when they are moved to higher performing schools. There will be an emotional academic cost, not only of the move, but also the year's lost academic growth. It is hard to recover if you feel like you're the one behind, or you are going into a brand new school in 4th or 5th grade. We have a high number of students who receive special education services. Putting them into a school that is at full capacity will create more stress on students and teachers and become overwhelming, and there will not be enough support for students in the full inclusion model. Also, the buildings they are being moved to, we have been told they were set up to serve special education students, but we are not using that model anymore. 600 kids in one building versus a small school. It has been said to the public, there is power and beauty in a small school. The 2 highest growth schools in the district are the 2 smallest schools. A full capacity school is not a good thing. 27 plus kids per classroom and every classroom being full is not okay for students or for teachers.
Hi, I'm Allison Howard. I teach 4th grade at Columbia. I've been there since 2000. And I have a question about a subject that is, I think, extremely serious. It's a very serious subject. I think it is, and I would assume everybody else does too. And it involves, I'll read my question, and then I'll give you a minute to kind of think about it. It's a serious question. We live in a modern post-COVID culture. So while there is a rise in childhood stress, anxiety, mental illness, and behavioral and emotional issues, alongside a rise in autism in school-age children across the nation, are we really proposing to have 600 students in one elementary school with one counselor one and one recess area. Will filling the school with post-COVID students be better for the students when there are other options besides closing the elementary school? I mean, anecdotally, I can add to this. It's almost a regular occurrence for me that I sit with my kids in the morning and we share, how we're feeling in the morning. And it's regular that kids will say, they'll talk about their anxiety. They'll talk about some depression. It's a real thing. It's real, and it's there. And our children are dealing with this. So this is important. It's important. Really important. This is a decision that is going to be, you're making history here, whatever we decide. It's a historical moment. How is it going to play out in the future years for our children and for us? I really hope you're taking it seriously. Thank you.
Cassie Elenas, and then Esther Covarrubias.
Good evening, school board. I want to start out by reading our mission statement as a district. We promise to build a foundation of diversity, equity, and inclusion from which each student emerges future ready. As a district, we work hard to achieve all these goals through differentiation, professional development, and the work we do every day. But it seems as if the focus has been lost. Closing Columbia does not uphold this statement in regards to equity. Equity is meeting people where they are with what they need. This decision isn't equitable in regards to TK. Currently at Columbia, we have 2 TK programs that are within walking distance from a student's house. These students don't have access to paid preschools like the more financially privileged counterparts in other schools. If Columbia closes, the district has proposed that we add a TK to Mission View, Newberry, and Washington, but not to Lincoln, one of the schools that will be majorly impacted and where a majority of our students will go. Displacing low-income families and not giving them an option for free early childhood education while their neighborhood programs are transferred to higher economic status schools is not equitable. And I can speak to this myself as a first grade teacher. The kids who go to TK, it makes a world of a difference. This decision also disproportionately affects vulnerable populations. At Columbia, our percentage of low-income students is 78.8%, while the Wenatchee School District's total percentage of low-income students is 65%. 73.8% of Columbia students are Latino, while only 54.2% of Wenatchee School District students are Latino. 43.5% of our students are qualified as English language learners, while only 23.3% of WSD students qualify. Seattle Public Schools took away any Title I schools out of their consideration during consolidation because of the impact it would have on students and families. This is an example of equity. I only have a little bit of time left, but I kind of wanted to give you a first grade example of what equity is. If you came to me with a scraped knee and I handed you a Band-Aid, I'd be giving you what you need. But if you came to me with a bumped head and I gave you a Band-Aid, you'd be very confused because that's not what you need. You need an ice pack. I am urging you to think about equity in this decision and think about our families because we're coming to you as a community of people who care and love these kids. And every single day when I show up to work, these kids are my pride and joy. I was just at training the last couple days. I miss my kids so much. It's not even funny. I urge you to consider our mission statement and let us help you continue upholding that mission statement. Thank you so much for your time.
Mi nombre es Esther Covarrubias y he trabajado en el distrito escolar de Wenatchee por 30 años como paraprofesor. Mi experiencia en los primeros años fueron negativas. Ni los estudiantes recién llegados de diferentes países, ni yo fuimos bien recibidos. La presentación de Residence Forecast mostró mucha información sobre Colombia, pero lo que no mostró fue: 1. Colombia recibe a familias y estudiantes con un compromiso de restaurar y transformar su vida sin importar quién son, y lo hacen en su idioma. 2. Colombia tiene el mejor crecimiento académico. 3. Colombia comprende y apoya la necesidad de cada estudiante y ha cambiado vidas a lo largo de generaciones, 100 años. En Colombia, los estudiantes confían en los maestros y cada día ven un mensaje de amor y esperanza. Colombia está en un lugar donde los estudiantes pueden disfrutar caminatas, yendo al museo, a la biblioteca pública, a la corte, al departamento de bomberos, y haciendo esto una lección de experiencia. Mi tiempo en Colombia ha sido recompensada al conocer maestros y familias, y he terminado teniendo una buena amistad. He trabajado para ayudar a las familias a que no vivan la experiencia que yo viví. Esto es en Colombia equidad. Colombia no es solo el jugar team, sino una familia. Gracias.
My name is Esther Covarrubias, and I have worked for the Wenatchee School District for 30 years as a parapro. My experience in the first few years was negative. Neither the recently arrived students from different countries nor I were well received. The residence forecast presentation showed a lot of information about Colombia, but what it didn't show was: 1. Colombia welcomes family and students with a commitment to restore and transform their lives, no matter who they are, and they do it in their own language. 2. Colombia has better academic growth. 3. Colombia understands and supports the needs of every student and has changed lives across generations, 100 years. At Colombia, students trust their teachers, and every day they see a message of love and hope. 5th, Colombia is a place where students can enjoy walking trips to the museum, the public library, the courthouse, the fire department, making it an inspirational lesson. My time at Columbia has been rewarded by meeting teachers and families, and I ended up making great friendships. I have worked to help families so that they do not live the experience I had lived. At Columbia, that is equity. Columbia isn't only the Kruger team, but it's family.
Maria de la Luz Aguilar and Tamara Lopashinsky.
Your communication has confused the families of Colombia.
Some Columbia students have reported that brothers have been placed in different schools. One family that all live at the same address has been split up and assigned to two different schools. Also, there are many families who have been told they can choose between Lincoln and Washington. This is not true. They won't have space in any of the classrooms to allow families to have a choice. Your current communication has made it harder for Columbia families. Su comunicación ha confundido a las familias de la Escuela Columbia. Algunos estudiantes han expresado que sus hermanos han sido asignados en escuelas diferentes. Una familia que comparten la misma vivienda y la misma dirección han sido separados a dos escuelas diferentes. También hay familias que se les ha informado que pueden escoger entre la escuela Lincoln o Washington. Esto no es verdad. Ellos no van a tener espacio en ninguno de los salones de clase para permitir a las familias tener una elección. Con esta comunicación, ustedes han hecho eso más difícil para las familias de Colombia. Gracias.
I am Tammy Lopashinsky, music teacher at Columbia Elementary for almost 25 years. I also attended Columbia as a student, grades 1 through 6. So my high opinion of the Wenatchee School District goes back decades. However, starting on January 19th, that high opinion was shattered. The district cabinet has broke trust with Wenatchee School District staff and community members. This broken trust could negatively affect future bonds and levies. Stakeholders have been put in a reactionary position rather than proactively planning and cooperatively making decisions together. Your stakeholders were not given a chance for buy-in and engagement. How could stakeholders help to solve a problem if they are never asked to come to the table? The district's reactive planning is not good planning and does not inspire confidence. This possible closure could lose more students from the Wenatchee School District because families choiced into Columbia or because they are looking for a district they have confidence in. I too have lost confidence in the district in how you have handled this possible closure. My heart aches to not be proud of the Wenatchee School District. I have talked with many stakeholders who feel the same. The district has not offered two-way communication, no discussion, no committee, no district-appointed person to help answer families' questions. In fact, the district even scheduled an open house for Columbia families on the same night as the PAC meeting where our pom-pom team performed. That's not good planning and doesn't show respect to the families at all. If you do choose to close Columbia Elementary School, our school song says, "We are the Cougar team, proud kids from Columbia. We can make our dreams come true, working together, me and you. Learning, growing, caring, sharing, everywhere we go, they'll know we're Columbia, Wenatchee, Washington, USA." As these Columbia students potentially move to another school, please give them the respect and consideration to keep their Columbia identity and not try to erase their years of growth as a Cougar. The Top Cat year-end photos that hang on our hallway walls should be in a highly visible place for all Columbia Cougars to look at now and in the future. I tell students the choices you make today affect you both now and in the future. You should have more than these two options to choose from. You as a board of directors have a choice to make on May 14th. That choice will affect not only you, but many district students and families now and for many years in the future. Please keep Columbia students and families in the forefront of your mind as you make your choice. Thank you for listening and thank you for your time.
Marcy White and Logan Hatala.
I'm Marcy Wright, TK teacher at Columbia. Cutting Columbia is only a 2 to 3% reduction of the total budget for the district. In a household budget, you don't sell the car, you tighten up everywhere else. Why can't we cut 2 to 3% of everything else in the district to avoid this closure? The budget on the website does not show an $8.9 million yearly deficit. It is just this year because it includes the softball field. There needs to be more administrator cuts at the district office. Another district's administrator recommended that they take 9 days unpaid to lower the deficit. 9 days off, who wouldn't want that? How much does the inclusion model cost? The one we're implementing but not supported by professional development or staffing. Do we even have the ability to do this correctly? We could reduce more elementary FTEs by doing multi-grade classes. For example, academically high second graders with lower third graders to meet the academic needs of the learners. Keep high school and middle school cuts and take the necessary positions from all the schools in the district. Yakima School District laid off 100 teachers, but there were no school closures, and their union president spoke out about it. Ask the state to allow the school district to offer early retirement. More years teaching is more expensive. We have a lot of new teachers, many of them bilingual and very enthusiastic and skilled, and they cost half as much as teachers who've been here for forever. You can move the district offices to open classrooms and rent out the district office. There are so many options that we can do to level this budget without cutting our school and cutting out our kids' hearts.
Hi, my name is Logan. I'm a para at Columbia. I work in TK. I'd like to start by saying that this is my first year working at Columbia, but it's not my first time working at a school, and the environment at Columbia is different than anywhere else. We have something really special here, and I know that all the teachers and students feel the same way. That being said, I've been coming to these meetings, and I keep hearing the same thing, which is that all other options have been exhausted, and that there is no other way but to shut down Columbia. If that's true, then why haven't you considered using all of these open classrooms that you say that we have to rent out to other school programs, such as early childhood programs from Wenatchee Valley College or Valley Academy? Those rooms could also be rented to Central Washington University to use for their education program so that their student teachers would be working directly in an actual school. You've also said we have low enrollment rates, but we know that there is a major demand for TK classrooms in the area, so we could also fill those rooms with more TK classes, which would in turn raise our enrollment rates. You've also stated before that there is no room for expansion around the Columbia area, but an Amazon facility is being built in East Wenatchee, and that will bring hundreds of families who could use affordable housing in the Columbia area, which would also raise enrollment rates. At the end of the day, we have a responsibility as the adults in this situation to do the best we can for our students, because me and the rest of the staff and all of you will be fine either way because we're adults. And the only ones who will really feel the consequences of this hasty decision is the kids. And it is their future that we should be thinking about. Thank you.
Ann Young and Michaela Sagado.
Okay,
list of a few of the many reasons not to close Columbia Elementary. 1, until tonight, not one person outside the cabinet had stood up and said this was a good idea. Until tonight, not one single public comment was in favor of this decision. 2, Columbia has the highest growth scores. 44.7% of students achieved high growth in math. 54.3% of students achieved high growth in reading. Columbia is #1 in growth in the district. Columbia is #1 in reading growth in the entire region. The cabinet has not acknowledged Columbia has the highest growth scores. Why is that? 4, why is the school with the highest growth scores being closed instead of looking what is working and using it as a model? We've heard stated that you hope to take the skills from Columbia staff and spread it to other buildings. However, you can't use pieces of a broken bowl to carry soup and share it in other buildings. That's not how a bowl works. That's not how culture works. That's not how a school works. Columbia as a whole is far greater than the sum of our individual components. Staffing can be realigned to enrollment without closing schools. Provisional staff have already been cut. We could be absorbing those positions at our current schools by utilizing grade level combination classes. 6, 38% of Columbia's teachers have ESL endorsements. 30% of all WSD ESL certificated elementary teachers are at Columbia. Perhaps such a high concentration of teachers specifically trained to work with our language learning students contributes to the success Columbia experiences in regards to our student growth scores. Once again, our sum as a whole is greater than our parts. 7, every school should be sharing the burden of this problem. The majority of this burden has fallen directly on the shoulders of some of our most vulnerable students. 8, benefits of having a neighborhood school will be thrown away. Parents without cars can come to schools and attend conferences and school events. Teachers see parents more frequently and can have daily communication. 9, Lincoln needs another classroom to fit projected students if Columbia closes. Using the graphs provided in the written analysis, Lincoln will need 25 classrooms next year. According to their building map, they only have 24. This means that in order to make the plan work as currently outlined, a class will need to be taught in a room not designed for general education, and that program that's currently there is displaced. Currently, the projection is for 21 classrooms to start the year in overload next year. 15 of those overloaded classrooms are a direct result of Columbia students being moved. 10, we are still imploring you to do what is right for our students. First, do no harm. I think you have heard enough already to know that it will harm students. The research is clear. Ignoring it doesn't make it disappear.
Sorry, thank you.
Ignoring it doesn't make the research disappear.
Doesn't align with the Big Six or WSD promise. Does not align with students feeling like they belong, because these students are being taken from a school where they feel they belong and are connected. And there are many of the families have belonged and connected for generations. Asking them to walk or ride the bus across town to a school far from home, passing by the former school from which they were evicted, this in no way promotes connection or belonging. How does closing a school with the highest math and ELA growth promise students an education from which they emerge future ready? How does closing the school with the highest math and ELA growth align with number 1, which states that students will experience high quality instruction? 12, we don't know what will happen with our enrollment with Microsoft and Amazon opening facilities in the Valley. A year from now, we may find the enrollment predictions were off. We may actually find that Washington and Lincoln are overcrowded and have no room for students within their own boundary and those added from Columbia. 13, additional loss of enrollments. Families are losing trust in the district. Therefore, they are seeking educational services elsewhere. Larger decrease in enrollment if you close Columbia, as many parents have stated they will homeschool, seek out private schools, or return to their home district as they had chosen Columbia Elementary, not Wenatchee School District. 14, you can't bring back a school. You can bring back programs. This is a permanent decision. Programs can be trimmed and then brought back. Positions can be cut and then brought back. A school cannot be closed and then brought back. That is simply not how it works. Please look for solutions that are not permanent. There are no do-overs. There is no rewind button. 15, this decision is going against what the community has asked for. You need the community in order to pass bonds and levies, and we all know that we desperately need to pass bonds and levies. If you choose to align your vote with the wishes of the cabinet instead of the voices of the community, you will be doing irreparable harm to the trust the community has in the school district and you as a board. We need the trust of the community in order to pass bonds and levies. 16, last reason of the meeting, and that was quoted by Corey Kalahar, there is power and beauty in a small school. I believe that is a statement that holds a lot of truth, and that truth has been proven by the fact that our district's 2 highest growth schools are our district's 2 smallest schools. Please vote to keep Columbia open and let the bright and brilliant minds of our staff and community come together to help solve this budget problem in a way that does not do permanent and irreparable harm to our students, school district, and community.
Jocelyn Flitton and Maria Contreras.
So starting with Jennifer Knifton was points that we had collected as a staff that have been made to you from the beginning of this process. It's 8 pages, it's actually 10 pages long now, and we will be sending you that document by email so that you can see it in person with links. This is the conclusion of that. The numbers are clear when one looks at the budget shortfalls and the demographic prognostications. But what can be done to mitigate or null the harm to our students? Closing schools is a short-term, reactionary, thoughtless, and singular approach to solving a long-term issue. We like to think of ourselves as an innovative and student-centered district. Let's walk what we talk and be innovative and forward-thinking. Second, my daughter is here with me. She is a Columni. Her statement is, I as a Wenatchee Schools alumni can confidently say that having bigger classrooms does not create a good learning environment. Going to Columbia and Orchard Middle School where I got the attention I needed was great. But after only 2 years at Wenatchee High School, I moved all the way to Waterville High School where I had to drive 45 minutes to school and 45 minutes home to get the attention I needed in a classroom. I as a Wenatchee School District teacher did not want to take that from this district. But her experience and my son's as well, who also moved to Waterville, were not positive at this high school. My comment from me personally is that this community deserves a superintendent, cabinet, and board who act transparently and without bias. It's a great plan if you're only considering the financial perspective. What you've neglected to consider is the toll it will take on the humans in your care, which in my opinion should be your first consideration. I'm ashamed of you. I'm ashamed of you, and you don't even make eye contact. I'm ashamed of the secrecy and the strategic manipulation, and especially the evasions that you have perpetuated on your constituents. If this goes through, I hope the repercussions of it haunt you, so that in the future, you take the care that you should have taken here to do better.
No more disruptions, please. I know you're wasting speaking time by me having to make announcements.
You're wasting more time by making announcements.
My name is Maya Contreras.
am the office manager at the My name is Maria Contreras. I'm the office manager at Columbia Elementary. This is my 3rd year. As my colleagues know, I have a phobia for speaking in front of people, but I am doing this for our students and for our families. Between January 19 and April 18, what are the names of the consultants and or more experienced leaders you involved in further receiving guidance about the proposal? What counsel have you sought since January 19 as you are further making these decisions about solving the deficit problem and possibly closing Columbia? And this is a question that I'm going to take a moment for you to analyze, think about, and maybe you probably will not answer me, but maybe you'll think about it and be able to respond in a future time. Again, I repeat, between January 19 and April 18, what are the names of the consultants and or more experienced leaders you involved in further receiving guidance about the proposal? Whose counsel have you sought since January 19 as you are furthering making these decisions about solving the deficit problem and possibly closing Columbia? Thank you.
Shelby Allwood and Erin Geringer.
Hi, I am Shelby Allwood. I'm a sped para for TK at Columbia. I have several thought-provoking questions in my statement that I will pause for us to think and consider, and you are welcome to respond. Corey, I see you're still writing. Do you want me to wait? All right, perfect, because in our TK class, we show respect by looking at our speaker. The thing that gets the attention in the community is that you're proposing to close a high-performing school and placing those students in a lower-performing school. We have full class sizes in 50% of our grades at Columbia. We have almost full class sizes in the other 50%. We are a high-performing school because of how we teach, because of the walk-to-read model and the walk-to-math model we have established, not because of our class sizes. Why are you proposing what research says not to do, taking kids from a high-performing school to a low-performing school? Why are you proposing to close a high-performing school when there are other options to reduce the district's deficit? Thank you.
Sorry for whoever goes next, because we know I'm not good at this. All right, good evening, everyone. Here I am, speaking into the void, and I'm hoping that the message is going through. Tonight, I want to point out some of the, let's call them, I don't know, errors, deceptions, shenanigans, half-truths, lies, I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot in this written analysis. I've read it a lot of times. It's dog-eared. I have tons of notes. I've poured through it. And there's still a lot of questions that need to be addressed before anyone that thinks closing Columbia is a good idea. Let me take my new favorite detail that's keeping me up at night. As of yet, we have no idea what an empty Columbia would be used for. Right now, it's used before school, after school, weekends, summers, basically as much as any well-used school would. And somehow it's being underutilized. Huh. I wrote that, huh. Recently, I heard there was a mention of perhaps moving either Valley or CTE or both to Columbia after our current students are sent on their way. Really? I hope that's not the case, but let's imagine for a second that it is. You're considering displacing 350 students from their neighborhood school to max out 2 other buildings, so the 180 students from Valley who are less than full-time or even online use Columbia. That's a better use of the space? Hold on, maybe I got this wrong. 350 students at a school full-time is too few, but 180 students on a less than full-time basis is just right. It's time to get our priorities straight, folks. Let's put the equity back into our mission statement. Here's an idea. I've had a ton, but here's another one. Here's a new one. Leave the students and the families that belong at their neighborhood elementary schools alone. Consolidate. That seems to be the word of the day, right? From your own analysis, there are 10. You can look it up right here. There are 10 empty rooms at Lewis and Clark, which are more empty rooms than Columbia, or so I'm told. Why not have 2 programs on the same campus? Move Valley to a wing of one of our elementary schools, keep the best of both programs under one principal, vice, secretaries, custodians, and the like. Sell Valley's property, save the precious budget. Win-win. Everyone's happy. We head out into the community to share how you all did right by the kids in this valley. Rainbows, sunshine, and votes for a future bond and levy. Perfection. Let me say this clearly. Keeping our elementary schools open, all of them, available and doing their best for our students every day is the right choice. From this vantage point, it's the only choice. I got 2 sentences. Anything else must be avoided at all costs. No one here tonight believes that a 2% savings is worth closing the school. Vote no to closing Columbia and keep our schools open.
Ellen Goss, Roxana Venata.
I just want to make sure this is the right height for you because I've been
Before I begin, you all know I'm nervous. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. You must know by now that the health of this district is fading, almost having lost all of its light. With no trust left, no evident collaboration with lower level professionals, and no transparency, where is the credibility of this proposal? Is this post-COVID culture, no elementary school should close in Wenatchee School District. Closing any elementary school would crumble the educational foundation these students should be receiving. Elementary schools are the foundation of strong districts. There is an opportunity here that no one has seized. A plan C that rises up and stands tall. We need to seize the opportunity to make Columbia a highly marketable school for families across our district. You have to give families who are taking their children out of our middle schools due to bullying another option. You have to give families who are choosing private and charter schools because they don't want their children to go to our middle schools another option. Plan C is a robust option. Make Columbia a 2-track school. Form a 2-track 6th grade this next school year with students from Columbia and other students that want to be choiced in. The next school year, add 7th grades. The next school year, add 2 8th grades. The goal is to make Columbia a two-track TK through 8th grade community school with other families in Wenatchee being able to choose. Columbia. Columbia would begin next year with an all-school educational focus and mission. For example, Columbia could collaborate to make it a STEAM-focused TK through 8th grade school. Better yet, Columbia Elementary could be a TK through 8th grade model of instruction for higher performance results in reading and math, which we already are, and add the focus of STEAM. After the school has developed with 6th and 7th grades, we can apply to the federal government to be a magnet school and get more funding just for Columbia Elementary and the teaching of its robust focus. I can guarantee you will have families that want to come to Columbia. You will have teachers motivated to collaborate on this huge opportunity for the district. There will be a multicultural mix of students.
That's your time.
I choose Plan C. The opportunity in Plan C will bring life back into a district that is fading.
Thank you. Please, no more interruptions. Thank you.
Roxana Vanetta, Columbia Elementary parent and teacher. I'm reading a letter. Our names are Matthew Swanson and Robbie Bear. We're a children's author illustrator duo who spent the 2022-2023 school year traveling the country to offer free programming and books to Title I communities in every state. My wife and I were lucky enough to spend a day at Columbia Elementary School in last May. More than 400 schools applied for 51 spots in our nationwide literacy tour. All the schools that applied were home to communities of marginalized students living in poverty. We selected Columbia because we could tell they were doing a lot with little, embracing the challenges that come with serving a high-need population with dedication, creativity, and longing resolve. We were struck by the warmth we encountered the moment we stepped through the door, the dedication of the teachers, and the joy of the students. In our brief time with the people of Columbia, we could tell it was doing the most essential work of a Title I community, providing a safe, welcoming space for young people to learn, develop, and flourish. Many Title I students face issues of food insecurity, migrancy, violence, and trauma. The school is a place of stability in an otherwise chaotic and challenging life. Schools provide meals, clothing, counseling, and health care. Teachers are lifelines, but trust can be difficult to establish. The upheaval of consolidation can fracture all of this. We live in a small county on the eastern shore of Maryland. A few years ago, our school board made the decision to consolidate from 5 elementary schools to 3. We saw firsthand the unintended consequences and very real costs of consolidation. If Columbia is shuttered, kids will be uprooted from relationships and routines. They will lose contact with trusted mentors. Classrooms will become even more crowded. Already exhausted teachers will be pushed to the limit or beyond. Hard-won progress will be lost. Many Columbia students have already had to endure 2 years of disruption to education and development due to the pandemic. The additional trauma of being uprooted from their school could create irreparable damage to their long-term education and developmental prospects. I'm writing to sing the praises of Columbia as a school culture and community resource, and to urge you to pursue every other option before deciding to close its doors. It's hard to imagine the short-term savings of closing Columbia outweighing the devastating cost to the kids of your community. Respectfully yours, Matthew Swanson and Robbie Bear. This is my short snippet. Arriving as a newcomer student in this country, I vividly recall the anticipation for assistance in grasping the language, seeking guidance, and the hope for equitable educational opportunities. I received sporadic fleeting support, merely 30 minutes every few days across several years. Don't let this happen to Columbia students. Don't send them to Washington.
Cameron Wiggins, Katie Morrison.
picture has been painted for us. We're in this treacherous valley with two paths that have been cut through it. Our leaders didn't want us to be here. No one wants to be here. But the circumstances leading us here were out of our control. We inherited this journey, and it's going to be taken whether we're ready for it or not. The valley is our district's financial dilemma. And the two paths, they were given to us at the last board meeting. Each path has us cutting down a tree, a strong, fruitful tree to be a bridge across the stream. Can you guess what the tree represents? The first path leads directly to the stream, and we cut down the tree right away. Even though it's the best at growing fruit, and it's home to hundreds of creatures, but after we cut it down, we're still in this treacherous valley just a little farther. The other path has you wandering around in the valley for a year, and then after growing tired and weak, we come back and chop the tree down anyways. And we're still in the same place, but we could have been there a year ago. And that's the picture we've been shown. And it looks like a simple choice between the two paths. But it's not. We shouldn't accept these as the only two paths. We need to find a path that doesn't have us cutting down the trees that bear us the most fruit. We're on this journey with you, and think that if you do the work to climb up again and look down into this valley more carefully, you'll be able to see a better way through these weeds. Get off the given paths. Don't accept them. Reassess the other options. Martin, Tucker, Julie, Maria, Miranda, you're leading this expedition. And you get the decision of which path you're going to all take. It's ultimately up to you. You're getting input from a lot of people that all want us out of this valley. We shouldn't cut down the most fruitful trees to do it. If you really are convinced that the only two options are do it now or in a year, take the year. If we spend the next year working and not wandering, we can find another way. You might have to go through some sticker bushes, and you're going to get your feet wet, but you can get across this stream. No matter what you do, there's going to be thorns and rocks along the way. And other things are going to be sacrificed. People have been suggesting lots of alternative routes. You have to choose whether or not you're going to listen. To be plain, you shouldn't have to choose between closing a school now or closing a school later. We need to find an option that leaves all the schools open. Please keep looking. Go Cougars.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I think maybe I have Sar in the room, so I'm just going to read my notes here. My name is Katie Borson. I'm an employee of the district. I work at West End High School and Pioneer Middle School as a school nurse. I have two kiddos that also go to school in the district, both at Washington Elementary. I also work as a cardiac nurse at Confluence Health, and I'm here to talk about the potential closure of Columbia School. I can't imagine how staff, families, or students at Columbia School feel with the potential closure when I think about it as a parent, as an employee, or just for my own kids, okay? The very thought hurts my heart. I'm listening to the school board meetings, staff comments, and I've spoken with other parents about this proposal. I see this possible closure how I see many things, and I always relate it back to nursing, so bear with me. When I work at Confluence Health, we have, for example, 15 patients to take care of, and we have 5 nurses that would take care of those patients. If we discharge 6 patients that day, then 3 of those nurses are sent home, because it's not fiscally responsible to keep us fully staffed when we don't have patients. No business can run successfully with buildings they're not using to the full extent, being overstaffed or not having enough patients. As much as we don't like the idea of thinking of the school district as a business, the sad part is it is a business, and it's struggling financially. Just like a hospital, I don't see how it's possible to keep a business open if we don't have the financial stability and we have incorrect student and staff ratios. No business can run long-term like this. Ask everyone to think about the business that they own, because a lot of you in this room and on Zoom own small businesses. Would you run your business consistently overstaffed? Would you run your business with additional buildings that are not being used to the full extent? Businesses can't run like that because it's not sustainable. I can speak with confidence, I feel like, and say I don't think anybody in this room wants Columbia School to close. But I haven't heard of other financial options that can keep a business open like the current proposal. As difficult and emotional as this is, I think it's important to think about the longevity of the school We want to have the district that can offer education to Wenatchee community for years to come. If we don't make drastic changes, that won't be an option. I'm going to speed up my last little bit. It's important for me to share as a school district employee and community member to be supportive of each other, no matter what the outcome of this decision is. Public comments and hearings, I've been listening to staff, I've noticed a lot of concerning things. I think it's crucial we all remember we're here to support each other and every student, no matter what school they attend and no matter what their background is. As a district, every school does this well. Do we have areas we can improve? Yes, absolutely. But the personal attacks that I hear that have been happening in meetings and the community meetings are not okay. We hold our students to a high caliber and we expect them to use kind words to solve their problems. We need to ensure we're holding ourselves to that caliber and modeling that behavior. I go on, but I'm done. Thank you.
Melinda Mendoza and Martha Gass.
Hi, good evening. My name is Melina Mendoza. I'm a parent of a student at Columbia, and she attends kindergarten this year. Her name's Ariella, and she's in Mr. Wiggins' class. She loves her class, and so this has been a hard year for me as a parent to have to send my student to school. It's been very emotional, as well for me, for her. And then just to have to worry about something else now on top of her transitioning into the school district has been hard. I think we should be focused on different things rather than having to figure out how to fix a problem that the school district has. I'm originally from Mattawa, not from Wenatchee. So moving here was a plan for the future of our kids because my husband was originally from Wenatchee. Now that I'm looking at it from an outside perspective, I don't know how we could keep our students or my kids here in the future as somebody that's looking at what are my options. Do I want to keep my kids in the school district? Do I want to send them somewhere else? Do I want to move if that's what it's going to take? I know that there's issues with money-wise and budget cuts and all of these things that need to be addressed, but I think that those are issues that need to be consequences for the adults, not for the kids. On that note, if you guys make the decision to close, then I would hope that you understand that as parents, we're gonna make the decision to go elsewhere where we are heard and we are seen and our kids are a priority to the school district. Also, other than that, I just wanted to give you guys with a question of how are you going to attract other people to come to this school, to this community, when you can't keep the ones that you have here?
My name is Martha Gass. The board has this situation on its hands now because it didn't make long-term plans. I was pretty surprised to hear that 2 of the elementary schools were completed in 2014 and that in 2015 there was a beginning of a declining enrollment. It seems that the board had done some better work in terms of census projections, that they would have been able to predict that. I don't know how much money was spent on these other 2 schools, but right now you have the opportunity to stand back and do some long-term planning to present the community with some options that aren't so drastic and aren't just laid on them like a sledgehammer, basically. You've heard tonight so many different ideas for how to cut your costs and make some trims here and there. those all sounded like pretty good ideas. I hope that you, as a board, can go back and sharpen your pencils, listen to what the community has been telling you, and try to put together some numbers that aren't going to be so devastating to the community and to the students. Thank you for listening.
Tommy Bishop and Leslie Kick.
Hi everybody. I had a long day. How about y'all? So, I had a speech that I had prepared on my lunch. I actually took an extra lunch, but it was 6 minutes long. And it was very eloquent, wonderful. But then I got to chopping on it, which you can see there's a bunch of scribble on here, and it was wonderful. So I'm going to kind of shoot from the hip a little bit. So my name is Tommy Bishop, and I moved to Wenatchee almost 15 years ago, and out of that time period, I have worked for the school district for almost 8 years. So that's over half of the time that I've been in this valley. Before that, I lived in Texas for a long time, and Texas, for a lot of my growing up, was like the best education you could get in the United States. But I'm going to tell you that my experience, and this is not on this speech, by the way, in my experience with this district, I have discovered that it is the best education that I have seen ever in my life. I was born in Iowa as well, so just so that you have some perspective on my history. Okay, so I am going to try to hit some tidbits here. I've heard a lot of interesting ideas that have been thrown out there, and I think that's all great and fine and dandy. But when we also think about comparing our debt to that of, say, the United States, well, it's nothing. And yet the United States is not shutting down departments and branches of the government just because they can't make the budget, okay? That's just one little thought in my head. I've also heard how much people have expressed their love for Columbia, and in fact, I got a little bit of time left. So this morning I actually drove Columbia students to school. So in my role currently, I'm the dispatcher and secretary for the school district. So I am part of the operations team that oversees busing students to the schools of this district. I had the pleasure of stepping out of the office, or should I say we were short-staffed and I had to get out there and drive the kids to school. But anyway, they were special needs students at Columbia. Wonderful students. I've watched them grow over the years that I've been in the office, and the few times that I was able to actually take them to school, I mean, these are kids that I've known for years. Columbia has made them grow in ways that I can't even convey to you all. But that's not why I'm here to talk. I've got 30 seconds left, so let me get down to the point. So, right here in my pocket, I have $100, okay? This won't even buy a cup of coffee every working day in a month. If I throw this down, along with another $100 every month until the fiscal year is over with, that's $7 million if you take into account everybody else who's a household head that does the same thing. You have $7 million on the table, and that's just one idea. It's time for you guys to get busy and come up with a plan. Why have there been no bond proposals?
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak and share with you my thoughts. My name is Leslie Kick. I was born and raised in Issaquah, where both of my parents were public school teachers. I've been a public school teacher or supporter my entire life, and just recently retired after 32 years of teaching, 26 of those in the Wenatchee School District. I was so excited when we moved to Wenatchee, and I was able to join a district that listened to and valued its employees' expertise, professionalism, and commitment, simultaneously providing the students with numerous innovative opportunities for learning in a variety of ways. As educators, we all strive to make a difference in the lives of our students and their families. And at Columbia, this happens every day in a very real way. consistency, predictability, acceptance, inclusion, trust, respect, value, protection. These are not just words. They are not just concepts. They are a way of being wholly and completely. This is Columbia. An atmosphere, an all-encompassing aura of passion for seeking out the potential of each and every student and guiding them through their journey to achieve educational success. An indelible sense of trust and mutual respect between all staff, top to bottom, no differentiation. And the incredible students and families of the Columbia community. I am sure you can gather from the words that I'm sharing that I feel strongly that this closure would be a terrible disaster and disservice, not only to Columbia, but to its community and all of Wenatchee. Thank you.
Mary Thresher and Kyle Diaz.
Again, first I'd like to say to the school board, thank you for serving your community. Right now it's not too fun, but maybe other days. Also, as a businesswoman, I would like to say, if you don't close your store, you figure out another way to sell beans. Maybe Taylor Swift beans, I don't know. My remarks today are on behalf of Kiana Wilson, who was unable to attend today. She writes, "Hello, my name is Kiana Wilson. I attended Lincoln Elementary, Pioneer Middle School, and Wenatchee High School. My mom, Carmen Wilson, was also a teacher at Lincoln Elementary for 30 years. I hold the Wenatchee School District near and dear to my heart, and I'm proud to be a product of this school system. But I cannot say how disappointed, shocked, and frankly unproud I am of the proposed closing of Columbia Elementary. This sets a precedent for solving a systemic issue that disproportionately impacts marginalized groups in Wenatchee, specifically low-income families and students of color. As a school board and community that claims to value diversity, equity, and inclusion, this proposed decision is not aligned with those values. Importantly, the school board has failed to conduct the proper due diligence as to the impact this will have on the valley and should uphold their stated values by putting a team together to design a more equitable solution. The board proposed only 2 solutions to the current budget problem, both of which involve the closure of Columbia. Both scenarios use only economic data to justify immediate closure is the favorable fiscally responsibility option. You can tell this is not mine, I don't use those bigger words. This study fails to provide data on how each scenario affects classroom sizes across the district, ratios regarding student-teacher learning time, ratios on student resource accessibility, zero data on how a school closure will impact test scores and other metrics. The school district has an elected responsibility to explore all possible scenarios and thoroughly research all true damages before a move as drastic and inequitable as a school closure. To close Columbia would be a failure on the board's elected responsibility. The 2 scenarios provide zero data on how this would impact future student enrollment, the root cause of this problem. And for myself, a lot of women didn't have babies during COVID years, and I'm thinking probably we're going to get a few more back. So how do we close the school and then open it again? I would feel bad that they wouldn't have a local school to come to. Thank you.
Good evening, my name's Kyle Diaz. I apologize, I did not have something written tonight. It's going to be a little scattered, so anyways. I have a lot of experience with working with the public, especially in a management position. And one of the things that I learned in those positions is perspective, especially in customer service. In this sense, what we're being told here is that with this proposal, you're increasing the ratio of classrooms and classrooms to principals. A lot of staff on different levels are going to have higher ratios at 2 different schools. I guess 3, basically. And that would be half of your schools in the district, or as far as elementary schools go. So essentially not an equal environment. Some schools are going to have a better environment, a better opportunity, other resources because they have more room. Another thing too is that, another thing is going to be these students are going to have a lot of backlash. And in my own opinion, I think that it comes to, we're making this decision based off of the protection of the salaries at the school district office. I've been coaching baseball at the Little League level for 3 years now, and I love it. I have the most kids I've had on the team, 10 kids. Not being perfectly honest with those teachers, I know where the real work's being done at. Because teaching some kids hands-on reading, we are all different. And according to these teachers, kids are different from when I was a kid, from when you were a kid. It is different. They need more support. So, please find other solutions, because at this point, this is what it looks like. It looks like a football game. You know, you guys got the proposal out, made the first stance on where you guys stand at, and now you're just holding the ball and haven't come out with another proposal. You're just waiting at the clock with less than 30 days on the clock here. So please come out with something else. I mean, close the school or close the school is not 2 options. So, anyways, thank you for your time, and please don't close out of Columbia.
Lynette Smith and Jenny Harris.
I'm a little nervous like everybody else. I stand before you today deeply concerned about the proposed closure of Columbia Elementary. As a former teacher at Columbia Elementary, this school holds a special place in my heart. This school was more than a workplace. It's where I discovered my passion and calling as an educator. However, despite my dedication to the students, the lack of transparency from the district led to my resignation. Columbia Elementary is a beacon of hope and opportunity for the most underserved students. Despite facing numerous challenges, this school has consistently achieved remarkable results in reading and reading proficiency. I'm really nervous. It is the highest performing school for reading, not only within the district, but in the entire region. A testament to the dedication of hard work in its teachers, staff, and students. The proposed closure of Columbia Elementary has left me and many others in disbelief. Reading is a fundamental skill that opens doors for children, paving the way for their success as productive members of society. Instead of shutting down Columbia, we should be celebrating its successes, and you, as a district, should be learning from the school on how to improve the growth at the other schools in the district from them, not shutting down their school. You're punishing them for their success. The closure of Columbia Elementary would have devastating consequences, many of whom come from underserved communities. Columbia has a high number of IEPs, 504s, and special education students. Its current class sizes allows these children to thrive. Increased class sizes will happen with the closure of Columbia. It will burden overworked teachers, create more classroom disruptions, reduce learning time, and create barriers for learning for all students. The practical implications of closing Columbia Elementary are deeply concerning. Many parents within the school's boundaries will lose access to vital school events and access for activities, and students will be facing increased safety risks by walking busy streets. Closing Columbia Elementary will disproportionately affect marginalized students and make their journey through life even more challenging. It sends a message that these students who have achieved remarkable success despite facing numerous obstacles are not worthy of an investment. 2%. You're saying they're worth 2%. They're worth more than that. These teachers are worth more than that. The staff is worth more than that. The parents, the kids. You sit here behind your desk. You go into the school for a few minutes and you watch and you observe. You don't see what it's like being in there. You don't have any idea what it's like to really be in there. You see when they're on their best behavior. The behaviors are going to increase. It's not going to be a good thing. The best thing to do is find another way, keep Columbia open, support the kids, save the school.
I'm here on behalf of Emily Dior. She is a parent of kids at Columbia. She's out sick, but she wants her voice heard tonight, so I'm here on her behalf. So here's what she has to say. Members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight regarding Wenatchee School District's proposed closure of Columbia Elementary. Also, thank you to those community members who have signed our petition and voiced their opposition of this closure. As of today, there are 1,785 signatures on this petition. Although those signatures do not translate directly into dollars for the district, they do translate into votes for school bonds and levies, which we desperately need to pass. I urge the board to consider this when you think about how you vote on May 14th. I want to talk about my recommendations to the board and the school district regarding what could be done to help not only keep all schools open, but to turn around the public's perception about how the Wenatchee School District is managing itself. 1, don't close Columbia, the highest growth school in the region. Rushing through this process will not only further push more families away from the district, promote more distrust, and only saves 2% of your budget. Don't make closure and consolidation your #1 option to address the budget deficit. 2, form a citizens' budget committee to improve transparency during this process. That way, when a board member says, make sure we don't make it look like Columbia is highest, when it's in reference to the percentage of high poverty students in the budget committee meeting, we can ask those clarifying questions to find out what they really mean versus making assumptions. 3, come up with a standardized tool that can be used to look at all the schools objectively and fairly. This will help reduce bias, both explicit and implicit, while also providing a more equitable outcome for all of our student populations. 4, work to develop sustainable business partnerships that can bring in additional money to the district. It's what our local charter school is doing, and they're raising funds. 5, look at aligning staffing to current student populations while also keeping all schools open. As Corey Callahar said, and it's said a couple of times tonight, there is beauty and power in a small school. Smaller schools will always help to draw more families back into the district while also appealing to new families moving to the valley. That's why private schools are growing, because they're small and they're individualized, and you can do this, district. 6, redistrict Columbia's boundaries to include all of the kids in our neighborhood instead of busing children to Newberry and Lewis and Clark. This process is antiquated. Why not move forward with positive change and rebalance the school boundary lines to be more equitable? 7, allow the city of Wenatchee time to request grant funding to improve safety along Ferry Street and Miller Street. The current plan does not provide for safe crossing. Displaced Columbia students will have to walk along the new proposed walking routes. I urge you, members of the school board, to think critically about these points and review the entirety of the information brought forward by the community over the past few months. The future of our children's education lies in your hands, and you have the power to do the right thing. Don't close Columbia. Look at alternative solutions. Thank you.
Madeline Meeks, Rosalie Langston.
Good Good evening, one and all. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the board this evening. My name is Madeline Binks, and I am a past principal of Lincoln Elementary School. I first wish to comment on the caring environment at Columbia Elementary School. This reminds me back when I was at Lincoln in 1990 to 1998, where we became a school tight together. I mean, I came over here and met up for lunch with 7 other Lincoln Elementary staff members, and we keep in touch, and that's how I'm feeling about Columbia Elementary this evening. I also wish to share some past realities of my life here. I came here from Seattle, but I loved my time in Wenatchee. I moved to Seattle primarily so I would be close to my children and grandchildren. But I miss Wenatchee. I miss my friends here. I wish to share some other past realities with you. The Lincoln staff provided the district with the first bilingual program. This change was in order to meet the needs of our students and, of course, their parents as well. Some years ago, when I was the principal here, a resident sent a letter to the Wenatchee World. This local resident complained that the area's Spanish-speaking adults had better learn English if they planned to live here. My written response to that letter included the reality that there are the same 5 vowels in English as in Spanish. In Spanish, those 5 vowels have 5 sounds. In English, there are 5 vowels. In English, those 5 vowels are used 20 times. 5 versus 20. This is just the beginning. In my letter, I also shared the following, that I spent 2 summers in Michoacan, living with different families in Morelia, and attending Spanish classes. I have 2 master's degrees, and I studied at the Principal Center at Harvard University. Yet the hardest learning I did as an adult was gaining the ability and the confidence to speak Spanish fluently. The proposal to close Columbia Elementary raises critical questions about equity and, am I at 0?
Sorry, that's your time.
Okay. Rosalie's here. Can she come up and stand by me?
She can read your comment.
Okay.
I mean, I've been timing this.
And feel free to email it to us as well if you have anything you want to send to us.
The proposal to close Columbia raises critical questions about equity and inclusion. The proposed closure seriously and disproportionately impacts the 74% Latino students. And additionally, it impacts the 79% of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. This also highlights the socioeconomic disparities. To quote Columbia's PTO president, who thinks the school is being targeted because it has a large number of poor students and their families don't have the clout more affluent members of the community have, Mr. Chavez's comments are right to the point, because nearly 80% of Columbia Elementary students have parents without the language, the experiences, the background, and or the finances to help their children adjust to the changes that you're proposing. And now, I'm not going to introduce myself. My name is Rosalie Langston. I'm a former teacher at Lincoln Elementary. And I just wanted to let you know that 48 years ago, when my son Matt was 10 years old, and right up until today, he still vividly remembers how traumatic his 4th grade transfer was. He remained in the Wenatchee School District and transferred from one Anglo English-speaking school to another Anglo English-speaking school. And I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And even with that support, this transfer was the most difficult for my son. And that's what's going to affect these Columbia students. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to share our thoughts and feelings.
Joshua Wagner, Jessica O'Connor.
Good evening. I'm a parent of a Columbia student, new to the area and the district. In order to respect the board and everyone else's time, I will refrain from sharing my thoughts that I previously shared at the last meeting. However, I do want to share a few additional thoughts that I have. Number one, I asked that the board consider the budget cuts being presented and what kind of cycle they're going to create. These budget cuts are being made supposedly due to lower enrollment, but how will cutting activities, restricting class options to older children, and closing schools help that enrollment? What is a higher priority here? Fiscal responsibility or children's well-being? As a reminder, a school district is not a business. It is a government-funded public good. It exists for the good of the community, not to make a profit or earn money for shareholders. As has already been shared tonight, cutting the budget as presented will only tempt more families to withdraw their children and move them to charters that have more services for their children. Rather than cutting services, we need to be finding ways to offer more options and services that will increase desires to enroll in and stay in the district. As has been stated, make long-term investments and expand TK offerings. Lack of childcare is an issue in this area, and I personally have a child that I could add to the enrollment. The district says that enrollment decline is the worst in elementary schools. Starting local children in TK will make it more likely that they remain in the elementary schools and district long term. In other words, present ourselves as a better option than charters, not a worse one. And second, the district has presented as an alternative to closing Columbia this year to close Columbia next year instead. I ask if this process is actually being taken seriously. I refuse to believe that the only alternative to the nuclear option of closing a school is to close it anyway. I applaud the board for asking the district to come up with alternative options, but when asked for alternatives, the district balked its responsibility and thought it better to only offer the illusion of choice. At best, the presentation of this alternative option is farcical and disingenuous. At worst, the inability or unwillingness to identify another option calls into question the real motives behind closing Columbia.
Hi, good evening. I am Jessica, a mother of 2 elementary students and a resident of Wenatchee for 20 years. Tonight, I am pretty convinced that the decision to close Columbia Elementary has already been made and it's a done deal, just as it was announced to the newspaper and social media in January. The only reason the board is holding the public hearing and listening to our comments or recommendations is to just go through the motions and to avoid another lawsuit that recently took place, and that's how we're getting our softball field. Speaking of the softball field, during the last school board meeting, which I watched last night in my bedroom, I noticed that in the contract renewal, the untrustworthy builders, and I say untrustworthy because a member of the board said that they themselves were not very trusting of the builders. But anyways, the builders still presented 3 alternative options, 3 viable options to get the softball field done under budget. 3 options to save money. The community has asked and has been told about 2 options that would be presented, and that did not include a closure. Instead, we have been presented with nights of presentations on the not recommended options and an option to close Columbia this year or next year. My kindergartner and I are confused. We talked about it a lot. Today or tomorrow, Mom, I don't see the difference. The builders who bid out the softball field presented actual options, viable, the untrustworthy builders, remember? How do we trust the Wenatchee School Board? They haven't presented actual options at all, have they? According to the Davis report, it appears that our budget problem will not be fixed with the closure of just one school. What elementary school is next? And when is that happening? When is Pioneer Middle School on the chopping block? You know the middle school that's going to hold the $100,000 expense for our new softball field that we approved? We all seen the numbers on the Davis report last week. It's clear. Let's start the transparency now. One final question. If the vote on May 14th is no, does that mean that it's a yes for next year? Or do we just start this process over again next year? We want to know the truth. We want answers and we want transparency. We can go from 80 to 90%, but this isn't how we do it. Don't close Columbia this year, next year. Don't close any elementary school. Vote no.
Judy Dubuque, Rachel Searles.
This is my third time talking, so I'm not probably going to use my whole 3 minutes. But the first time was when the bomb went off. And we were all at the district office on a cold winter night, which I now know as January 19th. And there was a response that, well, we'll have some public input. I haven't seen that yet. I've seen people being very civil, coming up. I have not seen people being attacked. I have not seen, but it has been very controlled. And I haven't seen any response that will tell me I don't want to go up here a fourth time on May 14th. I think we need to eliminate and say no. We will not close Columbia in this year or next, and not give you extra time to make the plans that were supposed to be in place in 3 months. So I say that, that's what I say. My recommendation to the board, you've heard some really wonderful ideas, which I remember saying at the first meeting in January, that there were a lot of community members and people that were very interested in helping with this budget issue. None of that has been explored or offered. It's time for a citizens committee. I've lived in this community for 40 years. I've got both of my daughters went through this Wenatchee school district. One daughter is now employed by the school district. I'm a school social worker. That's where part of my retirement comes from. And I have to say, I don't know if now, knowing what I know now, as far as my level of trust and using the Wenatchee School District for my kids, if I was in that place now, I don't know what I would decide. I would decide long and hard about it. I support public education. It's public, and that's what I have to say. So hopefully I'm not up here 4th time. But I'll be there if I have to be. Because the answer should be, we will listen to what we've heard with some excellent recommendations about how to look at the budget. And we have people that are all over wanting to help. So thank you, and thank you for listening to me for my 3rd time.
Good evening, members of the school board and Dr. Corey Calmer. My name is Rachel Searles, and I served our community for 7 years as an elementary ed teacher in the Wenatchee School District. 6 of those years were spent teaching at this amazing school called Columbia Elementary. I had convinced myself that I didn't need to come up here and speak because all of my wonderful teacher friends had articulated my thoughts and feelings on this subject really well. But as I was reflecting on my time spent teaching in the Wenatchee School District and thinking about all the brave people that have come up here to speak before you, I realized that I do in fact have another point to make regarding the closure of Columbia, the potential closure of Columbia. School board members, I hope you are aware of the disconnect that exists between classroom teachers and district leaders. During my time teaching, it was commonplace to hear things like, the district just doesn't get it. The district isn't on our side. I remember feeling anxiety whenever our principal emailed us saying that district leaders would be visiting classrooms that day. And I hoped that they didn't visit my classroom. Because to me and many other teachers throughout this district, not just Columbia, felt that our district leaders were there to judge the effectiveness of our teaching. And they made us and our students feel like we were on display at a zoo. We did not feel like the district was there to support us and our students. We have an us versus them mentality, which is perpetuated when the district makes questionable decisions without input from teachers. This disconnected relationship between classroom teachers and district leaders is likely a contributing factor to the fact that you've never witnessed this much teacher participation and advocacy during school board meetings. This means a lot to us. Look around you and consider all the people, teachers, parents, community members, who've taken the time out of their busy schedules to come here and speak out against this plan to close Columbia. This plan, should it go through, will only further the divide between teachers and district leaders, causing more tension and reluctance from teachers to communicate the needs of our students to the district. The district has lost trust from teachers, families, and community members with how this closure was planned, how this closure plan was implemented, and I would argue that teachers had very little trust in the district to begin with. As members of the school board, you have been elected by this community to represent our values, views, and desires for our public schools. The teachers of Columbia know their why. Perhaps it's time for the district to remember theirs.
Arlene Elliott. And then 3 names, Rosario Gonzalez, Grace Mondragon, and Zoe Mondragon.
All I have is mostly a question that the answer that I have previously gotten from Corey regarding the diminishing student numbers in the Wenatchee School District. Just driving around Wenatchee, there are lots of apartment buildings that are being built currently, and according to the paper, that are predicted to be built. At Malaga, Microsoft is going in down there. That's going to bring in lots of people. Developments have been going in at Malaga. More developments are in the paper, are predicted to, land has been brought up, housing developments are going in Malaga. All those kids come to Wenatchee School District. In Sunny Slope, huge apartment building has already been completed, another one across the street, and other apartment buildings in Sunny Slope. What's Sunny Slope School going to do? I think they're already filled to capacity. And anyway, I think that more time and looking into this prediction of continued decline in the next years to come needs to be looked at a little more seriously as to what is actually going on in Wenatchee and around the Wenatchee area where students will be coming into the Wenatchee School District. Thank you.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Rosario González y hoy estoy aquí delante de ustedes. Tengo 2 niñas, una de 6 años y una de 7, y ellas querían hablar. Entonces, como ejemplo, es por eso que hoy estoy aquí, para apoyar a mis hijas y que ellas puedan expresar la idea que tienen.
Hello, I'm Rosario Gonzalez, and
good evening, everyone. I have two daughters that wanted to speak in front of you guys, and because I want to represent them and support them, I am going to let them speak. I have a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Hi, my name is Zoe, and I want to make sure don't close School Columbia because I have two friends. Her name is Katie and Lise, and they are first time going to School Columbia, and it's not fair. They almost got to. They have new friends, and I want to make sure please don't close School Columbia. Hi, my name is Grace Mundragon, and I want to make sure to not close School Columbia because it's important to me, and I have two friends named Liz and Kelly, and they're their first time going to School Columbia, and she wants to go anymore because she's making new friends. And please listen to my voice. Thank you.
Muchas gracias por su atención. Estando enfrente veía y mostraba un poco de tristeza porque las personas que tienen que estar a favor y apoyar la educación, hoy les estamos implorando que no cierren una escuela. Entonces estoy en un dilema si están ustedes en pro o en contra de la educación. También notaba que algunos de ustedes muestran poca empatía cuando la gente habla y creo que esa es una falta de respeto. Les pido que aprendamos a respetar. Entonces, si ustedes tomaron la decisión de estar ahí, también tomen la responsabilidad. Gracias.
I want to thank you for being here tonight, and I want to express that you guys took the oath to be here representing us, and I don't know whether you're in our favor or against us, but I do know that from what I see, you guys don't show empathy when you see people speaking in front of you, and I want to implore you to please have empathy and respect.
Jamie Johnson and Zoe Leoleadis.
I am truly impressed and inspired by the individuals in this room who have gathered to passionately advocate for the well-being of our students. Many have clearly stated that placing a knee-jerk, convenient budget solution ahead of the well-being of our children is both negligent and irresponsible. Tonight, I see a united community ensuring that no student in our district feel isolated or forgotten as we navigate difficult decisions around this issue. The community has come together to amplify the voices of historically marginalized and silenced children and families in our district. And my hope is that perhaps this time our district leadership will truly listen to our cries. Perhaps this time the district will prioritize the quality of education that our students deserve. Maybe this time our leadership will diligently work to find solutions to preserve the well-being of our students. I'm proud to be part of a community that will unify for the sake of our kids. Together, we can make a difference and ensure that every student in our district receives the support and education they need to thrive. And when I say together, I mean all of us, the board, the district leadership, alongside the community members in this room. This is a call to include us and support us in finding a better solution to school closures. Vote to keep Columbia open and thriving.
Hi, my name is Wenatchee, and I'm a 5th grade student at Columbia Elementary. And I want you to know that please don't close my school because it's very important to me, and
I believe that it will have a big impact on social life of my friends who are in younger grades, because, especially the 4th graders, because imagine this, you're already going into 5th grade, and the next year you will be moving schools to Pioneer, Orchard, or Foothills, and your school's about to close, and you've been there your whole life, and all your friends are there, and then you have to go to a new school, and then the year after that you're going to a new school. How would that feel? You would be ripped from your friends and community twice, 2 years in a row, and I know that for me, that would really have a hard impact on me. And it's already taken me a lot of confidence to come up here, and if that happened to me, I would definitely not be here. And I don't know what I would do if Columbia didn't come into my life, because I would not be here and I would not be able to speak in front of you. And it takes me a bunch of courage to do this. I'm literally shaking right now, and I just want you to know that it's taking me a lot of courage, and I will not be here without Columbia School.
Josie Flitton and Cy Stewart.
I may be in college, but that doesn't mean I'm good at public speaking. I literally wrote all these down just as I was sitting here listening, so if they sound familiar, that's why. Shoot, where is it? Just kidding. My roommate in college is a manager for the Doug department, or drive up and go at Safeway. She has raised their profits of that department phenomenally since just starting there like last year, I think. But instead of closing the department down, the higher-ups at Safeway came and asked her what they should do differently at other places, like you should do for Columbia School. Don't separate them. That's so, you can't do it. If Columbia is one of the best running schools in the district, ask how they can fix other schools. Ask how they can, implement their plans and how they run their classrooms into other schools. As a Waterville alumni, I saw how they honored their 3rd generation students, so kids whose parents and grandparents had gone there, so that they would stay. I mean, people want to stay in Waterville. The smaller classrooms, they give way more attention to their students than I ever got at Wenatchee High School. I failed a class here because I wasn't getting the attention I needed. I never failed a class at Waterville. And it's not because it was easy, it was because I was getting the attention I needed from the amazing teachers there. I grew up in this valley. I went to school here. I went to school at Columbia. I went to school at Orchard. I went to school in this building, and I still left because I wasn't getting the attention I needed once I got up to high school. Columbia was great. I was getting all the attention I needed. Half the people who've talked here today either worked at Columbia while I went there or taught me personally. I mean, Mr. Wiggins, Mrs. Howe, Mrs. Lopushinsky, who else? Raise your hand if you taught me. These people are important to this district, and they make it a better place. Sorry, I'm not very prepared. Personally, if this was happening while my kids are in this school or in this district, I would move them up to Waterville, because I know Waterville isn't going to kick them out and move them to places they shouldn't be. Like lower level schools where they don't know how to get their test scores up. Whereas Columbia has truly proven they know how to teach.
Cy Stewart.
Good evening, board members, Corey. Thank you for being here, you guys, and thank you for all the time that you've given to all of this over the last several months. This is my 8th year at Columbia. I'm very proud for what these teachers have accomplished and these students. So I want to thank the parents, first off, for continuing to support your kids over the last 3 months in hard times. I want to thank the teachers and all of our staff members because they've shown up every day and it's been challenging, and they've continued to provide the same level of service to our students. And I want to thank our kids as well because they've been showing up every day and doing their very best and continuing to work hard every day in all that we do. I wouldn't say that discipline has gone up a ton in the face of this. I don't think we've had more than normal issues, and I think that says a lot to the parents and the staff and the students of our school. Speaking briefly about the data that's been mentioned, this has been going on for a while at Columbia, but I started in 16, 17. By 17, 18, we saw a bit of an uptick, and it continued until we got an award from the state of 2020 and was a bit overshadowed by other things in the world at that exact same month. So there wasn't a whole lot of fanfare about it, but it's something I think that we're all extremely proud of. It doesn't take away from the hard work of the rest of the district, but these people are very passionate about what they do every day. What I'm most proud about in the most current run of data, it's been our very best result across all of the subgroups that are measured. So we've had other years of success, but sometimes they were just in some areas. And if you look at our data from this last Washington State Improvement Framework result, the candles across the line are all pretty equal, and that's all students, second language learners, Hispanic students, white students, low-income students, and special ed students. And so they've raised across the board, and I think it's a testimony to all these people that are here today, and the people watching at home, and all the people maybe that don't even know that this meeting is going on, but continue to support their kids. So thank you to all them. Thank you to you guys. If you guys do choose to keep Columbia open, I would like to be a part of whatever committees provide solution and do what I can to help in that regard. So thank you, everybody.
That's our last speaker for this evening.
Before we adjourn, is there anyone who wanted to speak that didn't fill out a sheet? Once. Okay, can I get you to fill out the sheet real quick? Yeah, just leave it for it. There's still time.
Okay, the top, oh, I filled it out?
Yeah.
Walk it down a little bit. My name's Rick. I've lived in the Wenatchee Valley since 1977. And I'm here, my heart's sad because I lived just a couple of blocks away from Columbia School at the time when the school that's there wasn't. There was another school right there. And it was decided that that school would be torn down and a new school put up in its place. And it bothered me that as I watched the old school torn down, I saw these beautiful beams that had been used to support the roof, possibly the gymnasium and other parts of the building, and they were just scrapped. But I learned that it was like that's the cost of putting a new building up, putting a new school up. But it's important that we put the new school up. It was important to the community that that new school, Columbia School, that we know now, go up. So I go, okay, I support the school district. And I did. And that school stood there until here we are today. And I couldn't help but think it was so important to just scrap the old school and build a new one, because this new one was going to be important to the community. But now maybe it doesn't seem to be so important, at least maybe to some. And yet this evening I've watched and listened to quite a number of people from different facets of our community tell us how important it really is. So you tear down an old building, don't recycle the materials, just tear it, throw it away to put in a new building that stood the test of time till now. But now it's okay if we don't use it. Now it's okay if we move the kids to other schools. And I just think that's rather sad. There's a lot of people here who love the staff, the people who work so hard, the children who go there. And I would like to see that continue, because it seems like they're doing an awful good job, and there's some question about what the quality of work that the board is doing. And I'm just asking that you would really seriously consider that. I hope that maybe I've hit on some heartstrings for some people here. It matters to me, and I know it matters to them. I'll fill this out and turn it in. Thank you.
Mary Zorns, then Penny Talbot.
Well, thank you for the school board for your service and for hearing us out here, and for Dr. Kalahar hearing us out here as well. So I keep hearing the district proposing lots of cuts, and cuts that they don't want to make, and cuts that they favor. But what is the district proposing to save the budget and improve the income side of the budget and avoid these cuts? Has the district pursued additional grants, considered seeking business sponsorships, or looking at building and field rentals further outside of the school day, or building relationships with parents and the community to improve enrollment? I think Columbia has actually done an amazing job attracting students to their TK program. And if I read those utilization numbers right, which they were a little confusing, so I may have had it wrong, but it looked like Columbia actually has more students than what you guys proposed were the students in their little district. So that means people are choicing into Columbia. So why are we not redistricting and giving Columbia more students, as they are outperforming our other elementary schools? Instead, we're considering closing. Doesn't make sense to me. I also think smaller schools and smaller class sizes matter. I really value smaller schools. My kids are actually in private school because they do better in smaller classes. My kid's largest class is 15. So if we want to attract enrollment, we got to look at, hey, what are we being compared to? And I also wonder, what is that ratio of, like, for neurodiverse kids, how much better do they function in a smaller classroom? Are we having to have more special ed supports? Are we having to have more one-on-one paras? Because it's just overwhelming in a large classroom, in a large school. I will say that's true for one of my sons, that he just doesn't do well in large environments. He gets scared. So that's another thing to consider. And I think some people are wondering about, oh, this year versus the next year. I mean, I would like to see Columbia not on the chopping block at all. But I think, another year gives time for the city to work on those grants for safer routes to school, which is super important. Because that first kid that gets hurt on their way to Lincoln, we might end up in the same situation that we're in with the softball field. Yeah.
That's your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Penny. I wasn't planning on speaking and I didn't want to speak because the last time I did, I felt like I was speaking to trees. I'm used to speak to somebody and I hear, this they say yes or no, so sometimes I feel like nobody's hearing, so I hope you give me your hearing ears. Now, I know Superintendent, you're busy writing, so I don't know why you're taking notes. Maybe you can give me attention too, that'd be great, so I know you're hearing because you're not nodding or responding. Anyway, I appreciate all your hard work and thank you to my teachers at Columbia. I appreciate all of you. You do a great job. I have kids that goes there and it's so sad that you all come with all this decision of closing. No problem, we're running out of money. There's so many other options to come up with. Another thing is, last time I talked is I shared something because we run out of money, we don't have the budget, we don't have all that stuff, but we still don't know where all the other things are. And if it's a money problem, there'll always be a money problem. So if the money problem happened, what is going to give me confidence that there's not another money problem in years to come? Are we still going to close more schools? Are we going to keep it open? And I don't know about the other teachers. Some teachers probably, they're going to be laid off. Or maybe choose to another school, but have you ever given them that chance to say what school they want to be at? Or you just decide and move however you want. Lastly but not least, I know it's a tough job, you're all in working, but let me tell you, this morning when I woke up, I was thinking, God, I need your knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. And those are the three that I'm going to pray for all of you here, for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to know how to lead us, to know how to work together to build this great Wenatchee. Otherwise, we'll be on the bottom of the sea, just like Pharaoh when he pursued the children of Israel. And we don't want to be in the bottom of the sea. We want to walk through that sea together. So that's my prayer for all of you. Thank you for listening. And I hope you keep our Columbia open and all the elementary school in Wenatchee district so we can work together. We need the trust. Amen. Right now there's no trust, but we can build that trust together. So please work hard. If you're a Christian, pray, trust God, ask God, how can I lead my people? So we can be, I don't remember if I voted for all of you, but maybe I did. But if I did a mistake, I'm praying that you all going to do a better job in future. So God bless you.
Marcos Carvalho.
Hola, buenas noches para todos.
Hello, good evening everyone.
Soy Marcos Carrullo.
I'm Marcos Carullo.
Soy venezolano.
I'm Venezuelan.
Tengo año y medio
I've been here for
que llegué a este país, específicamente a la ciudad de Wenatchee.
Specifically to Wenatchee.
Agradezco a Dios porque me permite participar de esta reunión.
Letting me participate in this reunion.
Agradezco también a los presentes y especialmente a los señores de la Junta Escolar que permiten esta participación. Es mi segunda vez que puedo dirigirme a ustedes y al resto de los presentes. quiero decirles que estoy y sigo, como lo dije la vez anterior, sigo muy, pero muy preocupado y muy entristecido,
Very sad.
al igual que mi esposa y mi
My
niño,
wife and my son
que estudia en Colombia,
that goes to Colombia.
por lo que ha venido sucediendo y
Because
por
of
lo
what's
que
been happening.
lamentablemente siento que está a punto de suceder.
Feel like it's about to happen.
Quiero llamar la atención de manera especial de los 6 miembros que están presidiendo al frente de esta
I
junta.
want the attention of the 6 members, especially the ones in front of me that are conducting this meeting.
Quiero decirles a cada uno de
I
ustedes
want to tell each and every one of you
que esta noche, que es, entiendo, la segunda y última junta donde podemos tener derecho a palabra,
that we have the right to speak.
de cara a la posible solución de este problema, que si bien está en manos de ustedes resolver, no menos cierto es que también nos preocupa a los que estamos de este lado, viendo sus caras y escuchándoles, y que también, pues por supuesto, sentimos que está en nuestras manos poder contribuir para que se pueda resolver.
And we know that it's on your hands to make this decision, and this is the last meeting that will be held to speak up. But it's also to my knowledge that we also contribute to that decision.
Quiero decirles que por favor piensen con cabeza fría a partir de esta noche, cuando llegue cada uno a su casa
Once you get home,
y pueda recostar su cabeza en su almohada,
once you're, in your own bed, in your pillow,
que la idea de cerrar Colombia no debe seguir teniendo cabida en sus mentes.
should not be a thought in your mind.
Que en el nombre de Dios sé es mi fe, porque soy cristiano, creyente, practicante, como muchos de los presentes acá.
Yeah, in the name of God, because of my faith, I'm Christian, as a lot of you that are present, and my faith.
Sorry. Habrá una mejor solución
You know, there would be a better solution.
para no cerrar Columbia School,
Close Columbia School,
ni en este año ni en el venidero,
neither this year or the next year.
porque muchas son las opciones que se les ha brindado a ustedes
Yeah, you guys have been presented with a lot of options,
para no cerrar esta hermosa institución,
so you don't close this beautiful institution.
que es la segunda casa de muchos de nuestros hijos acá presentes.
It's the second home to a lot of our kids that are here.
Y qué triste sería que en ustedes como junta escolar se cumpliera
It would be so sad that you, as the school board,
el refrán popular que dice que no hay peor ciego que el que no quiere ver.
and there's a saying that says, there is not, and it's Mexican saying, there's not, or a Hispanic saying, not a worse people that the one that does not want to see.
Y no hay peor sordo que el que no quiere escuchar.
And there is, no worse person that the one that doesn't want to hear.
¿Qué está pasando con Colombia? Como cuando tenemos nuestro abuelo en casa
It's happening to Colombia, like when you have your grandparent at home,
y ese abuelo ya tiene 100 años de vida,
and that grandparent is 100 years old.
y como está enfermo y ha vivido mucho,
And since he's sick and he has lived a long time,
entonces en manos de un grupo de médicos que bien pudieran ser ustedes,
he's in the hands of a group of doctors that could be you.
se les ocurre como médicos, insisto, decidir, vamos a darle, vamos a practicar la eutanasia y vamos a quitarle la vida a este abuelo para que ya no viva más.
Yeah, it's like you're putting, the grandparent down so he doesn't live any longer.
Qué bonito sería que a partir de esta noche, con esta reflexión en la mente de cada uno de nosotros,
It would be so beautiful that starting tonight with this reflection in everybody's mind,
podamos orar a Dios que está en el cielo y que nos ve y nos conoce a todos,
that we could pray to God that's in heaven and that can hear and see us all.
para que Él sea dándonos con su sabiduría la mejor opción que signifique evitar el cierre de Columbia School.
So so he can give you the best of his knowledge. That would be, not closing Columbia School.
Y mañana o pasado, con el transcurrir del tiempo,
And tomorrow or the next day or, as the time goes by,
la historia no se encargue de señalar o de culpar a alguien en particular por la triste decisión de un día haber tomado de cerrar Columbia School.
so, the one day you guys would have the sad, reflection that you were one of the people that shut down the Columbia School.
Dios nos enseña en su palabra que al que cree todo le es posible.
God shows with His word, whoever believes, everything is possible.
Y así como con valentía los niños que me antecedieron hablaron casi que implorando que por favor no cierren Columbia School,
Yeah, just like the kids that were very courageous were here before me, begging me not to close Columbia School.
con la misma valentía ustedes como junta escolar puedan agotar hasta la última instancia y el último recurso para lograr ese anhelo de nuestros niños de que finalmente no se cierre nuestra escuela.
Yeah, and I hope that with that same courage you guys think about, to look for all of your resources so you don't close down Columbia School.
Es todo, muchísimas gracias.
Everything, thank you so much.
Gail Martinez.
Please don't close Columbia.
Maddie Nissen.
I was not planning to talk tonight, and I'm terrified of public speaking, so forgive me if my voice is all shaky. But hello, my name is Maddie Nissen. I've been a para at Columbia for 2 years now. Oh my gosh, I feel my heart beat. I am now a student teacher with 5th grade, and I really just want to come up here and speak from my perspective as a newer Columbia staff member. Try not to cry right now. I just wanted to thank Cy and Lydia, the emotions, for allowing me to start my journey in education and such an amazing staff, like all of you Columbia. I started at Columbia with absolutely zero experience in education, like absolutely nothing. But they gave me the opportunity and they said, we're gonna welcome you to our family. So I joined Columbia, and if you were to ask me at the beginning of this year what my future plans were, I would have told you that it was to work at Columbia till the day I retire. But if you were to ask me now, I would say I'm seeking employment elsewhere. If you close Columbia, I don't know what school I want to work at. I don't know. I do not want to be ripped apart from the oldest staff that I know. And I know some of our provisional staff feel the same way. I'm going to veer away from the emotion now, and I'm going to go into some facts. Allow me to share some points of 5th grade data. 150%. 134%, 121%. These are percentages of growth from the iReady reading test that our 5th graders took just this week. These percentages are proof of the product that our teachers create at Columbia. Our students work hard, and even when they're put in these hard times, they give it their all. Our staff gives it their all. 150%. That is just one student's growth in 5th grade only. These points that I'm making now are very clear. Look at OSPI. Look at what school has the highest growth. It's Columbia. And it's because of the staff, it's because of the family, and it's because of our hardworking students, like Zoe, one of the 5th graders that I teach with my student teaching. And honestly, that's all I gotta say.
Rafael Alfaro.
Justicia para la escuela primaria Colombia.
Justice for our Columbia Elementary School.
Hoy esta tarde suplico y apelo a la conciencia de cada uno de ustedes.
This evening, I beg you, for each and every one of you, for your conscience,
Y les exhorto a seguir el camino de la justicia.
and I beg you to follow the path of justice.
Hoy he venido a condenar la infamia y la desigualdad
Yeah, I have come to condemn the infamacy and the inequality
de la que es víctima la escuela primaria Colombia.
who the victim would be Columbia Elementary School.
Si bien no podemos elegir de dónde venimos, pero sí a dónde ir.
We can't pick where we come from, but we can elect where to go to.
Y ese buen camino lo elegimos con la ayuda de una buena educación.
In that path, we have to choose it with a good education.
Porque si no educamos a nuestros niños,
If we don't educate our kids,
no tendremos ningún derecho de exigir justicia cuando nosotros seamos los ancianos del mañana.
we won't have any right to ask for justice when we are the elderly of tomorrow.
Ser un servidor público como lo son ustedes
Being a public service board like you are,
es un privilegio
it's a privilege
y es un honor que
and it's
nuestra
an
comunidad les otorgó.
that our community gave to you.
Porque el que no vive para servir,
Because whoever doesn't live to serve
no sirve para vivir.
doesn't serve, is not good for living.
Y ahora, los errores de unos pocos son la triste realidad de muchos.
Now, the errors of a small group of people are the worst thing that could happen to a bigger group of people.
Ustedes son la luz que ilumina el camino de las generaciones venideras.
You guys are the light that illuminate the path of our future.
No les pueden fallar a nuestros niños porque así se fallarían a ustedes mismos.
You can't fail our kids because you would be failing yourself.
No pueden hacer esto con niños tan pequeños.
You can't do this with small children.
¿Por qué es tan importante la educación de calidad en los primeros años educativos de un niño?
Because it's very important, quality education in the first years of a small child.
Porque es cuando tienen curiosidad.
Because that's when they have curiosity.
La curiosidad es la madre del conocimiento.
Curiosity is the mother of knowledge.
Si hablas con niños de primer grado, encuentras en ellos pequeños filósofos.
If you speak to children that are in first grade, you find little philosophers.
Curiosos del mundo y creativos, hacen preguntas muy profundas.
Curious and creative, they have very profound questions.
Como por qué la luna es redonda o por qué existe el espacio.
They ask questions like, why is the moon round? Why does space exist?
¿Por qué las plantas son de color verde?
Why are plants green?
Son preguntas importantes que hacen de forma muy natural.
They're important questions that they make in a very natural way.
Pero luego vas con alumnos de preparatoria y ya no ves nada de eso.
Then you go and speak to high schoolers.
Han
and you don't
perdido
see
la
anything
curiosidad.
like that. They have lost curiosity.
Y luego vas con jóvenes adultos y ves personas a quienes parece que les quitaron las preguntas.
And then you go to young
man, and you speak to people like, they took all the curiosity, all the questions away.
Porque no saben, no tienen ni idea de por qué hacen lo que hacen y por qué creen en lo que creen.
Because they have no idea what they do, and they don't know what they believe in.
¿Por qué es tan marcada la muerte de la curiosidad?
Why do we shut down curiosity so much?
Y esto es lo que estamos haciendo terriblemente mal
And that's what we're terribly doing wrong
en nuestro sistema educativo.
in our educational system.
El solo hecho de descuidar la educación en los estudiantes pequeños es un acto negligente.
The fact of, not care for the education of our young children is negligence
Y puramente criminal.
and purely criminal.
El cerrar una escuela es un acto rapaz y vergonzoso.
Shutting down a school is an awful act and a shameful one.
Muchas gracias por
Thank you so much.
escuchar.
Wendy Elias, Ellis.
I definitely was not going to speak tonight, but I taught at Columbia for 10 years, and it was my first job teaching, and it was something I always wanted to do. I attended 13 schools before I graduated, so I know schools. Ask me about schools as a first grader or a second grader at a new school, third grader at a new school. Oh, moved towns by fourth grade because rent was due or whatever. I know schools, and I have experienced the best teachers in my life, which made me want to be one. These children, they love their school is their home. They're safe there. They will stay there. They won't go home sometimes if you don't make them. I taught a little folklore dance group, and it was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, half day. We said, yes, we have to stay, we have to practice. No, you guys are amazing, you need to go home. No, really, we need to practice, we'll be good. Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing all the time, every day. They did not want to go home. They don't want to go home, they love their school. They can walk to school. They walk like a little bumblebee group going home with the little first graders, the big kids in the neighborhood. They take care of them, and they all walk in this big bundle to go home and come to school, and they stop at different homes to pick up the children, their friends on the way, and teachers will walk to their homes and conference with their parents because their parents can't drive. I'm not sure why closing Columbia this year makes it the only option. There's other schools lower performing and lower enrollment than Columbia. But Columbia has our 350 students in a 1 square mile area because we don't have buses unless it's for special ed. Everyone can walk, and the parents do pick up their children. We have this huge same bubble group of parents outside waiting to pick up their children. They learn to trust adults there. The adults at Columbia are trustworthy, and these children learn that. That's not something you can trust many adults in your life, right? But as children, they feel safe to make mistakes because that's how we learn. We have to make mistakes to learn, and it would be horrible to do what you're going to do on the backs of these children who need to be in school where they live and live where they go to school. They had to bus diversity into Newberry because of federal funding. They didn't have enough diversity there. So they broke a street in half. One half of that half goes to Newberry, the other half goes to another school. Why? Extend our boundaries. Thank you.
That is the last form I've received.
Okay. Last call, going once, going twice, so you're just about to 9.
If there's no more comment, then we will go ahead and adjourn the public hearing. Thank you.